everyone. I decided I would do a video this week pertaining more to business/negotiations than beauty or DIY. And what I wanted to talk about specifically is one of my favorite life philosophies. And I've used it in life, in business, relationships, at the grocery store. It's just something that I live by. And it's quite simple, and I know you've probably heard of it before, but I wanted to expand on it today and tell you how I use it, apply it to my life, and how I benefit from it. And that is, if you don't ask, you don't get. Interestingly enough, I was recently at an event and an aunt of mine said, yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get. And another time I was out with my sister and she said, I know, if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's funny because I think it must run in my family that we're just all kind of big initiators of this. Anyway, so here's how it works. Basically, if you're unhappy in a certain situation and you're complacent, you don't say anything about it, you really have no reason to complain about your dissatisfaction. Ultimately, the responsibility was in your hands to do something about it if you weren't satisfied with the outcome. So the purpose of if you don't ask, you don't get is to remind you that you need to advocate for yourself in all kinds of situations. The key to this whole technique is to not be a jerk about it. So you may have encountered, perhaps if you work in customer service or you run your own business, you may have encountered someone who advocates for themselves in such a way where they get angry toward you or they treat you rudely or they have these ridiculous expectations of what they want you to do for them. The key to success with this whole technique, though, is to release your expectations of the outcome. So even in your head, if you have certain expectations, it's important that you let them go and just keep yourself open to whatever the other party feels they can do for you. I've always found that if you give people the benefit of the doubt and you speak from your heart and you ask sincerely, they will want to do their best for you. But if they sense that you're being advantageous, they will probably scale back, and that's when you start to get those really yappy people on the phone to the customer service representative. Or like I said, if you've ever worked anywhere and you've dealt with a real difficult client or customer, it's usually because they're not getting their way or they're not getting their expectations of what you should be offering met. So remember, let go of the expectations, let go of the outcome, and maybe, just maybe, someone will really surprise you with a really wonderful offer. I'll just give you a couple of quick examples as to how I've recently used this in my life and how it's benefited me, and hopefully that'll inspire you to go out and do the same thing. So I recently got a new car, and when I was sitting there at the negotiating table, I made my case to the gentleman who was selling me the car, and I tried to get myself the best price, and I also let him know some of the other perks that I was interested in. And then I gave him the opportunity to get my business by giving me the best possible deal he could. I like to advocate for myself. I like to negotiate. So I ask because I want to know what the other party can do for me. And amazingly, I got a wonderful deal on my car, and I also got some free mats, and I got a couple of other great things, so I was very satisfied with that. And I walked away and I felt great, and the guy on the other side of the table felt good too, because I didn't ostracize him during the negotiating process. I left it up to him to feel that he could give me the best possible deal. So another way that I've used this is when I've been dissatisfied with something, for example, a service that I recently engaged, and I sent them an email and I very clearly let them know what I was dissatisfied about, and then I asked them, what do you think you can do for me now that you know my side of the story? And amazingly enough, when I approach it from that standpoint, people are much more willing and able to work with me than they would be if I were to stand there and berate them for their service or product. I hope that gave you a little bit of insight into how I like to negotiate and conduct myself in business. I found it's really helpful for me, especially being a young person in business. Having this skill in your back pocket really gets you somewhere as far as I'm concerned. I'd love to know what your negotiating strategies and tactics are and what you've found to be successful, because I always learn from you guys. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you soon.